I'm Bella. I'm sitting here in my apartment. The silence around me feels different now. It's not the lonely kind I was used to, but a silence that's been earned. The events that led to this moment were a long time coming, and it all started at my father's 60th birthday party. My family is part of a well-known social circle in town. My father, Henry, is a high-profile businessman who loves to show off. He's always been more concerned with appearances and status. My mother, Emily, is a socialite who spends her days attending parties and charity events. She's good at putting on a show but lacks real understanding and empathy. My sister, Lily, is a real estate agent who specializes in selling multi-million-dollar properties. She's always been the golden child, the one who brings glory to the family. At the party, the room was filled with my father's business associates, friends from the golf club, and neighbors. As the party went on, my father stood up with a glass of scotch in his hand. With a smug smile on his face, he said, "I have 2 daughters. One, Lily, is out there making millions selling luxury homes. And then there's Bella, still running around town with papers and coffee like a college kid." The room erupted in laughter. Lily joined in, her voice ringing out, "Remember when she said she'd be a big-shot businesswoman?" My mother leaned against the wall, a small, cruel smile on her lips. "Some people just never grow up," she said. Even my younger cousin chimed in, "Is she still living off old people's signatures?" I set my glass down gently, as if it were made of the most delicate crystal. No one noticed me stepping back. They didn't notice that my father had just mocked the job he knew nothing about. They also didn't know that the beautiful beach house they boasted about, which was actually my grandmother's, was under my management. I was the one taking care of all the paperwork, making sure the bills were paid, the taxes were filed, and the insurance was up to date. I left the party with my head held high, my purse on my arm, and my keys in my hand. The 25-minute drive back to my apartment was filled with replaying those hurtful words. But as the minutes passed, the humiliation turned into a cold determination. I'm a mobile notary and records courier. I handle important legal filings for law firms, hospitals, and real estate offices across the county. I've spent years learning the ins and outs of signatures, escrows, and deadlines. It's not a glamorous job, but it's real and important. My grandmother, who was a wise and shrewd woman, trusted me with her estate when her memory started to fade. She knew I was the only one in the family who read every single page before signing anything. A week before the party, I had already sent my father 2 emails and texted my mother about the missing paperwork related to the trust of the beach house, a car loan he had taken using the property's address, and the autopay account that needed verification after an audit. But they ignored me. That night after the party, I sat at my kitchen counter, opened my laptop, and stared at the unread messages. The annual verification was due in 7 days. If it lapsed, all the automatic payments related to the house would freeze. Mortgages could bounce, insurance premiums could stop, and property tax escrow could be reviewed. I drafted an email. I wanted to tell them how they had publicly mocked the work they relied on, but I decided to be professional. I sent a final reminder: the annual trust compliance packet remains incomplete. If not returned by Friday at 5 p.m. All automated residential disbursements will suspend pending review. I attached the forms and CC'd both my parents, but not Lily. Then I put my phone face down and went to sleep better than I had in a long time. The next few days were telling. My father read the email and did nothing. My mother opened it twice, forwarded it to herself, and still didn't respond. Lily posted a video of a luxury mansion tour on social media, captioning it, "Building My Empire." By Thursday afternoon, the trust office sent the final notice. I read it in my car while waiting outside a hospital for a patient to sign some discharge papers. No updated residency affidavit, no verification of occupants, and no re-authorization of payment instructions. The routine disbursements would be suspended at the end of business on Friday. I didn't call them. I didn't plead. For years, I had thought that helping them was a form of love. I had fixed late tax notices, corrected mailing addresses, and prevented insurance lapses. But every time I tried to explain what I did, they treated me like I was speaking a foreign language. On Friday, I went about my normal work. I notarized a power of attorney in a small town, dropped off some filings at the county clerk's office, and picked up takeout on my way home. At 5:04 p.m. The system suspended just as the notice said. On Monday morning, the first text came in at 7:05. It was my mother. My card got declined for coffee. What the hell? I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed. I looked at the text, rinsed my mouth, and put the phone down. At 7:15, Lily texted in all caps, "Why is my mortgage showing unpaid? The house is in foreclosure." At 8:05, my father called 3 times and left a voicemail full of rage, "Call me back now. The car payment didn't go through, and they're talking about repossession fees. What did you do?" By 9:38, my mother's voice had changed. It was weak and scared. "Bella, please pick up. The trust office says they can't confirm occupancy, and there's a hold on the account. The property isn't in our names like your father thought. Where are you?" I sat in my car outside a title office and said nothing. That was the moment I realized something had changed in me. I had always been quiet, thinking I needed permission to speak up. But the systems that kept their lives running didn't care about family politics. They cared about who signed the papers, who filed the documents, and who paid attention. The trust office called me. The fiduciary manager, a strict but fair woman named Miss Harper, confirmed what I already knew. No one had returned the residency affidavit, no one had submitted updated insurance declarations. My father had used the beach house as collateral for multiple financial applications, including the car loan and a short-term loan for one of Lily's property deals. As the days passed, the situation got worse. My father called non-stop. Lily sent me a voice note, saying, "Bella, this misunderstanding is getting out of hand. I have a big closing this week, and underwriting is asking questions. Just fix it, and we'll sort out the family stuff later." My mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. I watched her through the peephole as she knocked, then checked the hallway, and knocked harder. "Bella, I know you're in there," she said. I almost opened the door, but then I remembered the party, the cruel words, and the way they had made me feel like an outsider. I stayed still. Eventually, she left an envelope under the door. Inside was the unsigned affidavit packet I had sent days ago, now wrinkled and half-filled, along with a note saying, "We didn't realize it was this serious." I laughed out loud in my empty apartment. That was the problem. They never took me seriously. That evening, my father cornered me outside the county records building. He stepped out from behind his car like a character in a movie. "Enough of this," he said. "You've made your point." I looked at him and waited. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't apologize. He just demanded that I call the trust office and undo everything. I told him it wasn't that simple. It was a compliance review. He got angry and said, "You're just running errands. Don't act like you're important." I looked him in the eye and said, "Then you should have no problem fixing it without me." I got in my car and drove away, ignoring his calls. That night, I received the official suspension summary. Mortgage payments were rejected, the car loan was in delinquency, and the access to the maintenance funds was paused. It wasn't some crazy revenge, it was just the natural consequence of their actions. The next week was a nightmare for them. Late fees piled up, deadlines loomed, and Lily couldn't charm her way out of the underwriting issues. The car lender sent a pre-repossession warning, and the insurance company asked for updated occupancy verification. The trust office scheduled a formal review meeting and told them that the use of the beach house would be restricted until everything was sorted out. My mother finally called me from an unknown number. Her voice sounded old and tired. "Your father sold his yacht," she said. "Lily borrowed against her bonus, and it still isn't enough. What do we have to do?" I told her to separate the household accounts from the trust-related addresses, submit current occupancy certifications, correct the financial applications, provide insurance documentation, attend the trustee review without drama, and stop treating the inherited property like a personal trophy. The night before the trustee meeting, Lily came to my apartment. She sat on the steps, looking vulnerable. "I was awful to you," she said. "Not just at the party, but for years. I liked being the successful one, and I thought if you were the mess, no one would look at my flaws." I didn't say much. She asked if I would help at the meeting. I told her I would attend and explain the process, but I wouldn't lie for anyone. The trustee meeting was held in a stuffy conference room. Ms. Harper sat at the head of the table with a compliance attorney and a stack of folders. My father looked small and defeated, though his pride was still there. My mother held a legal pad tightly, and Lily had no makeup on. I sat a bit apart from them, not as their savior but as the person who knew the facts. Ms. Harper went through the issues one by one. She pointed out the ignored notices, the unreturned affidavit, and the improper use of the property for financial gain. When she finished, she asked me if I had sent reminders. I said yes, multiple times with attached forms and deadlines. And no, I didn't personally suspend any accounts, it was the system that did it after non-compliance. The attorney laid out the steps to resolve the situation. They wouldn't lose the house immediately, but they would lose unrestricted use until everything was fixed. There would be fees, delays, and a lot of embarrassment. After the meeting, my father asked to speak to me privately. We stood in the parking lot. He started making excuses, talking about pressure and trying to keep up the family image. I let him finish and then said, "Do you know what hurt the most? It wasn't the jokes or the laughter. It was that you really thought I was less valuable than the things I kept working on to keep your lives running smoothly." He looked at the ground and said, "I was proud of Lily because everyone could see her success. And I treated you like your work only mattered when there was a problem." I nodded. "Exactly," I said. His eyes were wet when he looked up. "I was wrong," he said. It was a simple statement, but it meant a lot. My mother also apologized later that evening. She said she had confused dependence with authority for years. Lily's apology came in bits and pieces over time. She started standing up for me when people dismissed my work and stopped making jokes about it. I did help them, but on my terms. I made sure the trust was protected and that they learned from their mistakes. My father sold his car before it could be repossessed. My mother started managing her own finances, and Lily, though she lost a high-end listing, didn't lose her career. They paid in money, stress, and public pride. But more importantly, they paid by admitting that the person they had mocked was the most competent one in the room. And that's what changed them. I learned that sometimes, standing back and letting reality take its course is more powerful than any form of revenge. People often judge others by their titles and appearances, but it's the quiet, hard-working people who keep the world going. So, have you ever seen someone being underestimated, only to realize later that they were the ones holding everything together?